Okay, so we will call the meeting to order. Today is October 21st, 6:31 p.m. This is a regular meeting of the Montgomery Selectboard and Water Commission. We are back on Zoom. Apologies to those who couldn't get in last time. We've resolved that, so tonight's working. First order of business is to review and make any changes to the agenda. I've got two additions. One is under general updates for Public Works. I just want to add an update and some stuff on the Longley Bridge Road project. The project that will never end. And then under new business, we're going to add Lister vacancy. Are there any other changes, additions, or deletions to the agenda?
Oh, I haven't.
All right, hearing none, we'll move on to the review and approval of the minutes of the October 7th meeting.
I'll make a motion.
Yes, I'm sorry.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for the October 7th meeting.
Okay, we have a motion from
As
Mark.
written. As written.
Think it'd be a good idea to correct them to include the dialogue on Lister's vacancy at the last meeting?
Let's get a second, Merle, and then we can tackle that during discussion, because I have another edit as well. So, Mark had a motion to approve as written. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a second. So is there any discussion on the minutes? So two things. One would be just clarification that Greg Lucas has not actually resigned from the Director of Emergency Management. He does want to continue in that role.
Okay.
So I'll keep working with him to see what we can move forward there.
Okay.
And then to Merle's point, it wasn't included in the minutes, but there was a discussion of the Lister vacancy and a interested party to fill the vacant seat. So if I can offer those
That
as a...
discussion, we had that discussion? We didn't have.
We talked about it at the meeting. It wasn't, we didn't do anything about it,
Oh,
but
so it wasn't-
it did come up during like visitors. So,
Okay.
yeah, there was no actions around it. So I'll,
Was made that will be on the next meeting's agenda, Suzanne.
so, I offer those as a friendly amendment. Do you accept the friendly amendment?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Any other discussion? All right, hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes as amended, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great, motion carries and we've approved the minutes as amended. Next up is Public Works. First item here is updates on the municipal wastewater project. One update here that I've got is that in regard to the boring work that we discussed last time, that is gonna have to be postponed. They were hoping to start doing that last round of work this week. Our DigSafe clearance has expired, so they need to re-engage with DigSafe. And given the timeline we're looking at, they're looking at now sometime in December or early January.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Because of that, they're looking at significantly reducing the scope of the borings so that they're not in the roadway during the winter season, because with snow, it's gonna be harder to.
Yeah.
So they're kind of reassessing the scope of it, and the date has changed. So for now, boring work, late December, early January is when that's gonna now have to take place due to the DigSafe stuff and things getting pushed back with Sierra Environmental is the new company that we're working with on that.
So they still can do that, you know, the ground's frozen and everything?
Apparently,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Can I just say that I was typing something else for a moment and I heard with regard to the boring stuff and I was like, I don't have to pay attention.
With regard to the unexciting stuff that we're talking about,
It took me a moment.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's the only update I've got on that project for tonight.
okay.
Anybody have any questions?
No.
Okay. There's no update on the streetscape project. Again, the work there is just trying to get through and clear right-of-way so that we can get moving on the bike and ped grant funding, which is the next kind of gate that we're looking at there.
Oh, okay.
Tosca. General updates. The first item here is Reagan Road Power Project. So we've talked in the past about construction of a building to house the comms equipment.
So I just talked to Doug about it, and Scott got some prices. I mean, you're looking at probably 2,000 for just materials for the building, 6x6 building.
Okay,
So, but a building all built is like 3,000.
okay,
And we're probably gonna get it not insulated, then we can insulate it ourselves.
okay,
And I guess Scott and Doug will try to get the concrete done, the slab made for it, and then we can put it in there with our loader.
okay.
and get
Wait,
it
so
set
this
up.
is for a pre-built
Yeah,
building that we would
Yeah.
place and then,
Yeah.
okay.
yeah, so I guess I'll make a motion to, well, probably it's gonna be like 3,000 for the building and probably another 1,000 for the pad, cement pad.
Okay,
So probably 4,000. So I'll
Okay.
make a motion,
and do you want to clarify
Yeah.
Building Capital Improvement Fund? Is that where you
or
want
was
to pull
it
it?
coming out of the ARPA?
Oh,
The rest of-
that's right, we did
the,
say this one, yep, okay, yep,
Okay,
that works.
so 6x6 building for the Reagan Road storage tank for the communications building. 6x6 building, not to exceed $4,000
Great. Is there a second?
out of the ARPA
Out of the ARPA fund,
ARPA
sorry,
fund.
yep,
Okay.
great.
for the communications in town.
Did you get that?
I think so.
All right. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thanks, Leanne. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great, motion carries.
So,
So we can give them the
Okay.
green light on that.
okay,
Next up is just truck repair statuses. We were just talking about that before the meeting started, but you
Yeah.
want to give an update, Mark?
so we had an issue with truck 1 and truck 2. Truck 1, the new beam has been put in it, in the back. So that truck came back last week, and then truck 2, we are having the issue with the engine. Getting a part for it, and the part actually came in and the truck is back, so all of our trucks are back in the shop.
Awesome.
So everything's been repaired. So let's keep our fingers crossed they keep moving.
Yeah,
So,
great.
so that was good news. We thought the truck was gonna be down for at least 6 months,
Yeah.
it could have been, so they managed to find the part, so.
Great.
But we do need to look at purchasing a new truck, budget time or town meeting, we need to get that on the agenda, because now it takes almost 2 years to get a new truck.
Yeah.
To get them to build it, so.
Yep.
And our trucks there's no more warranties on them, and they're getting older, so we need to definitely get that in the, I think there's only one more payment on the CV, the newest truck. so-
Yep.
So I just want to get that on.
Yeah, so we'll flag that for budget
Scott has
season.
some prices, so we'll have prices for budget time,
Good.
yeah.
Can we revisit having the school kids name the trucks so they're not just truck 1, truck 2?
Yes, yes, let's flag that
yeah.
as something we can do with the kids.
Yeah,
Awesome.
truck 1, truck 2, and truck 3, now we have truck 4.
I was thinking we do like the Dr. Seuss thing 1, thing 2,
Yeah.
you know?
I have other names for them sometimes. But
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure you
POS,
do.
POS 1, POS 2, yeah.
Yes, but
All right, great.
I'll talk to Sandy about that. See if
Okay.
we can do something like for that.
All right, awesome. Just moving down the list, so the added item here, Longley Bridge Road project. So the update here is that the plantings that all went in, which was supposed to be kind of the final part of that project.
Yeah.
The Army Corps of Engineer, based on the photos that we've sent of the plantings, is questioning the survival rate of the planted willows, which means they cannot at this point issue the compliance letter to wrap stuff up. We're trying to get them, we got them new photos Friday from Bethany. I'm hoping that based on those, they can just basically approve it and we can just put this to bed. But because of that holdup, we need to essentially extend our agreement both with NRPC and with John Turner Consulting. NRPC is our grant manager. They're no longer billing us for any of the activities related to this, but VTrans does say the agreement needs to be updated just so that V-Trans has documentation that NRPC is acting as our grant manager for that. And then as far as John Turner Consulting goes, if you remember, John Turner Consulting is the engineering firm that we had to hire to oversee the work.
Yeah,
And so all they need to do is just sign off on the end of it. So there's not going to be really much of any cost associated with JTC. It's just they need to sign the final
Yeah.
kind of completion. There are still pay recs for King, the company that did the work, that needs to go out once John Turner Consulting signs off. That's about 20% of the planting costs, which is like $7,000, because we held that back to ensure survival. And then 10% on the last pay requisition. So there's about 35,000 that is still waiting to go out to King, again, which has just been held back until the final sign off. So it's not like there's any new money or any new expenditures associated with the project. It's just we need to have the documentation on the agreements in order to have everybody sign on the dotted line once Army Corps of Engineers says that they are good to go. So the action we need to do is just, it's not a new agreement, it's just extending the agreement with Northwest Regional Planning to act as our grant manager and extending the agreement with John Turner Consulting. So any questions there?
so they're gonna have to replant some willows, or?
Well, the hope is that with the new photos.
Usually those things come up pretty.
Yeah, and the hope is that with the new photos we send, Amanda at Army Corps can say, yes, that looks fine. The concern now is that the more we lucked out with the weather, but the more hard frosts we
Yeah.
get, the worse they're gonna look.
Right.
Yeah.
So I haven't heard, I was hoping today we'd hear something from Amanda at Army Corps basically saying like, you're good, but we haven't heard it.
But if they die, we're not liable for replanting
If
them
the,
again.
if the willows don't survive, then that's when we go back to King and say,
yeah.
you have to replant the willows, and that's why we retained 20%
Yeah.
of the
Okay.
money that we would give them to ensure that that happened.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
Any other questions? So then the simple act tonight would be to extend the contract with JTC, extend the contract
Northwest Regional Planning.
NRPC?
with NRPC. And this would
Is there a timeline?
and this would be on or before December 31st, 2025. We can handle it in one motion or do two separate motions.
I'll make one motion to extend the contract with NRPC, Regional Planning, and was it JTC?
John Turner
John
Consulting.
Turner Consulting, for the Mountain Bridge project.
Until December 31st, 2025.
Till December 21st, 2025.
Great, thanks, Mark. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Great, thanks, Leanne. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great, motion carries. I will get those back to those folks so that we can hopefully wrap this up.
That would just be too simple for that project to be done.
I know.
It's dragged out for.
It's years and years. That brings us
Yeah.
through Public Works. Any other updates or anything on Public Works to?
No, they're paving those spots on Fuller Ridge Road that they changed the culverts this week, so
Okay.
they're getting that done.
Great,
And then the sand pile's all up, so, and then they'll just be getting the trucks ready.
okay,
Now the trucks are back, they can get them ready for winter.
okay,
So,
awesome.
about it.
That brings us to visitors. So we'll start in the room, go in the order folks came. So Chris, anything for visitors tonight? Okay, thanks, Chris. Bob, floor is yours.
Where do you want me, here, there?
You can stay right there. Yep, yep.
Incidentally, I don't know you guys,
Leanne.
Oh, sorry.
that's okay. Leanne,
Leanne Barnard.
but are you,
Mark Roulette.
hi,
Yeah,
hi.
hi.
Are you in relation to guy who, yeah, I guess who used to own the trader, the
Snowshoe?
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 Yeah, he's my husband.
Oh.
It's a small town.
Yeah, right, everyone is related to everyone else. I don't know how to start. We're almost, sold out of the, Montgomery book. And the plan here, and the rec board is gonna keep sponsoring it. I was working on a website, kind of a, traveler's guide, comprehensive guide to the Northeast Kingdom. That was in the works anyway. So the idea is, since Montgomery is an honorary member of the Northeast Kingdom, we would just fold in the Montgomery materials updated as part of the Northeast Kingdom website, which the rec board would kindly continue to sponsor. The advantage of the nonprofit sponsor is we can get maps created by the Regional Planning Commission, which if I published it, or if anyone published it privately, we'd have to, publish our own maps, and plus it's easy to get, publicity, because this is a good guy project by, nonprofit organizations. So in the course of updating the Montgomery section, I was driving around and, saying how we were out of date. Bad news, incidentally, is that Crystal Falls, as you guys know, is now off limits. I talked to Ted Tyler, of the Tyler family that owns it, and Ted is, pissed off that, people have, trashed the place, and he wants to keep it off limits. I asked him if he'd be amenable to selling it to the Evergreen Foundation or someone, and the answer seems to be no. So it looks like the only way people can see Crystal Falls is by trespassing, and that sucks, and that's a story about that. I was also going to update the Trout River along the end of the Hazen's Notch Road. Putting that in the description. So for the first time, I walked down the Hazen's Notch side of the Trout River and found that it's an atrocious, trail and so forth. And then I was wondering, what's it like on the other side? I've only been in town for 20 years, so I'm still getting up to speed on this. And in the past week, I talked to Barry Domina, who there's 3 parcels, as you guys probably know, along the mountain road side of the Trout River, one of which is owned by the church, AKA the Center for the Arts, and the other parcel is Barry Domina, and the third parcel is the town of Montgomery, which is the main reason I'm here to find out about that. I talked to Sebastian from the Montgomery Center for the Arts, and he likes what I'm thinking about. Some kind of a trail. We call it the Trout River Trail, Trout River Scenic Trail. That would pretty much use some existing trails to provide a continuous view of the Trout River. So it would be a kind of a nature park. And the plan basically is to define a walking path and to mainly groom the banks of the river, mainly hemlocks, to basically groom up the hemlocks so that from the vantage points along Trout River, you have continuous views of the hemlocks, the river, and the ledge on the opposite side, leaving and stopping there so that the hemlocks would continue to screen the houses and other stuff on the Hazen's Notch Road. So it would, and I saw the upper parts of it for the first time, and I was blown away because it's, in the 19th century, this kind of scenery would be called the sublime. I don't know how many of you guys have seen it lately. It knocks your socks off. And, you know, the falls or the whitewater and the stone on the other side is just a gorgeous, bit of scenery. And the proposal is simply to open up a path, groom it out so that it can reach its potential as a bit of natural scenery. Ran the idea by Sebastian at the Center for the Arts. He thinks it's a great idea, and he thinks the Art Center is on board. Barry Domina, you probably know much more about the history of this place than I do. Barry gave me an introduction a couple of days ago. And the short version is that he had it open for a long time. People would routinely trash the place, and one day he got tired of it and closed it off. So he would be amenable, however, to selling out. He and his sister, which has the house next to his land, would be amenable, would entertain an offer to sell out. And the.
You can keep
Did I
going.
say something?
No, you're good. I'm just
Say something.
gonna make sure that connection is still working, so.
Okay, and so one possibility, either through private consortium or through grants, is to buy Barry and his sister out, and that would be the other parcel. That would be part of the trail. And then, and the last parcel is the town of Montgomery, which I want to ask you about, how that would work. That's the thought in a nutshell. What do you want to ask me? And then I want to ask you about why Montgomery owns that land on the river.
Yeah, so the land around the swimming holes was given to the town by Gaston Benoche.
Oh,
In 19.
Yeah.
I was the only one that voted no.
I don't know when that was.
Accepting that.
90s?
90s.
90s? Okay.
Yeah, there was, and my concern still remains today, and I would vote no today if he were to give it to us, because the town has never been willing to put any money toward any efforts, despite being asked several times.
yeah.
Over the years, we've had people, when I was on the board, we had, the cycle of what happened to Barry, it continues to happen. There's been Rolf Anderson making signs, let's put garbage cans up. That effort was disastrous in that everybody dumped their garbage. There's never been any budgeted amount of money to maintain property that we own there. And I've thought that that was gonna be the case then, and it still is. I don't think I think we've spent $1,000 on the property since it was given to us. We did research, put up signs, you imply there's a risk. We had people come to us saying there's glass in the water, my kid got cut. I barricade, probably, if you can remember the whole, but
Yeah.
people would tell us there was dangers there by not doing anything, we were being neglectful, the list goes on.
Yeah.
So,
It's a mix.
maybe it's time to bring it up at town meeting and start a fund
Yeah.
to actually, if we don't take care of it, people that come to town are gonna see that and not take care of it. That was sort of the argument for funding, doing some kind of funding.
Yeah.
So, I would,
And so, Chris, I know that you live right there. Did you want to?
Yeah, I do.
Do you have a
So
comment, or?
That swimming hole's a major issue for parking. And people are parking
Yeah.
on both sides of the road. They cause
Yeah.
us to have to go out in the wrong lane coming down. Nobody does anything about it. Now, I don't think they're allowed to park here anymore. I think they stopped them from parking here. They used to park here when I was a kid.
Yeah, that was because they were parking here and accessing it through Barry's property, and then when Barry shut that off, people stopped parking here, and then, yeah.
So that is a big issue.
That's another major problem, plus, whose liability is it? Is it the town's liability?
So I think
If somebody gets hurt?
yeah, to Tosca's point, I think the conversations we've had is that the moment the town essentially does anything that would create, I think the term might be an attractive nuisance, that we essentially acknowledge and invite people onto the property, and at that point, we become liable for anything that might happen there. And so that's kind of where the conversation has been, is that, to Tosca's point, yeah, we own it, we kind of don't do anything with it, because if someone gets hurt, it's our liability. To your point about trash cans, who's emptying the trash cans, who's monitoring it. So that's kind of where the discussion has been right now, Bob. But to Tosca's point, if there was a group that wanted to get together to like reopen that conversation, I don't know if the Conservation Commission has a lot on their plate. I don't know if that would be a body that you might want to go to and talk to.
Is that you?
That's not me anymore, no.
Oh,
No.
okay. Thank you.
Nope, that would be, the chair of the Conservation Commission was Carissa. Carissa has since stepped off because she moved to Maine.
Maybe it's Joan though.
I don't, it's either,
I can.
it might be Pat.
Yeah.
Oh, Kalikas?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently, they're a high-profile organization right now, Charlie.
But if you want to reach out to the Conservation Commission and maybe start the conversation there, and then to Tosca's point, if something develops between now and, February, when we're looking at town meeting, we can certainly have a conversation at town meeting about it. So, yeah, so I'd say start with the Conservation Commission, see if they have any interest in doing anything.
I would also just want to offer
Oh, yeah.
two things. One is that while I value Sebastian's input and ideas about this concept, he is not on the board of the MCA or the Montgomery Community Church that
Right, he
owns
told
that
me-
property.
He told me, he resigned. He was the
Yeah.
one that wanted,
But I did receive, putting my MCAC hat on, I did receive correspondence from him about this idea, and it is something I think that the group would be willing to consider or hear at least a proposal from. It's been discussed in the past about putting a trail through there, so that would be another, working with the Conservation Commission and whoever bought Barry's property. I think there's potential. Especially if you have multiple organizations involved, maybe there's a little more oversight that could be available.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just wanted to clarify that
Okay.
on the record.
But I mean, if they did get Barry's property, then the parking could be here again, they could,
Yeah.
Yeah.
then that would be another
Or if we
liability.
expanded
Whoever
our
got it
parking
would
lot
be-
down there.
That'd be another liability. You'd
That would
have to
be
make a
another thing,
path,
though.
so, yeah.
So lots of
Yes.
parts here. So I guess maybe the next steps would be to formally go to the MCA or the community church organization to talk with the board about it, to get a little bit more formalized feedback. Talk to the Conservation Commission, see if they have any interest in kind of doing it. And then if there is another third party that is an established entity like the Evergreen Foundation,
What about Wild and Scenic? It's their river, yeah.
actually, yeah, the Wild and Scenic River,
Yeah.
MRBA, so Lindsay Wright, is another person that I guess, yeah, that's a good point, Tosca. So,
right.
if you email me, I can email you Lindsay's contact info, but she's the point person for MRBA and Wild and Scenic.
Okay.
And to that end, Wild and Scenic does have money, and so they might be someone to talk to as far as if there's financial stuff involved, what their capacity is or what they've got potentially to help.
Right.
Well, they do like boating accesses and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So,
So,
yeah, so it is.
It's their
Yeah, that's-
riverbank restoration.
Riverbank,
Right.
yeah.
but I think those are kind of the things that the next steps are questions of liability, maintenance, and parking. I think would be the three things
Yeah.
that we would need more clarity on before we did anything to change the status quo. And not to say the status quo is working extremely well. I mean, to your point, Chris, you put up no parking signs and people park anyway, and
It's only about parking.
so so hopefully that's some feedback to kind of next steps.
Okay, so the town still intends to own the land, it doesn't plan to sell it, to get it back on the tax rolls.
You wanna buy it?
I mean, if we had a, I mean,
Do I,
No.
but that just in effect, kicks the
Yeah,
can down.
no, but to your point, if there was an entity that came forward and said, hey, we would love to own this piece of property and we have the capacity to manage it,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure we'd entertain that, we'd bring it up at town meeting, I mean, there's,
Right. Okay.
I think we just need more information on what the alternatives look like in relation to those questions before we could kind of advance anything.
Yeah, okay.
So-
Okay. I'll be in touch with you.
Sounds good.
I guess, okay. Incidentally, this is the only select meeting I've ever been at. I'm impressed. We all know that you guys do detailed, labor-intensive, mentally intensive work, and we all thank you for doing it at all, and for doing it well.
Great, well, thank you, Bob.
A pat on the back.
Thanks.
Thanks, Bob.
Yes, thank you.
Tosca, you're, for the Full Hearts Kitchen, anything else? Because that's the next thing on the agenda, but anything else for visitors?
No, I was just gonna give you a brief update, cause you emailed me about where we are with use of the basement.
Yep, and we've got that on too for next, so I just want to give Larry and
Oh,
Merle a
okay,
quick
yeah.
point, and then we
Yeah.
can go right to the,
Oh.
all right, so we're gonna go to the Zoom next. Larry, you were on first, anything for visitors? Nope, okay, thanks Larry. Merle, anything for visitors? We will get to the Lister appointment, but anything besides Listers?
Anybody that likes beef jerky, Ace Hardware has the best you can buy.
All right.
Iowa Smokehouse. You can see it on the screen right there on the picture.
Okay.
All right, thanks Merle.
Thank
And
Public
I would
service
say under 5C, by now, when you print that office, you would think, oh, that's collector delinquent taxes.
Oh my gosh, you're right, Merle. I'm sorry. I keep doing that wrong. One of these days, my brain will get that right.
That's okay, Charlie, just don't let it happen again.
I'll try not to.
Okay.
All right, so we're gonna continue with the agenda. So old business. So the first is the town hall committee, building use policy. So this is separate from the food shelf, Full Heart Kitchen. Just, do you wanna give an update on the?
Basically, I sent you guys I sent Charlie a cookie cutter commercial lease agreement that I went online. I have a year to edit it. So Charlie, you hand it out to the rest of your guys, have a look.
Yep.
We don't have to do anything right now. But the basement status is fairly simple. After the variety show weekend, the basement is not rentable to the general public until we get the repairs done. Not necessarily the plumbing to have the kitchen inspected, but the basement itself. I watched 35 kids running around down there, some with shoes on, some without. There's chipping paint all over. It's just, it's okay. When we have these fundraisers where the people need to be there, we've kind of agreed as the committee, like, we need to be on scene. People that are responsible for the building, like I was in the basement, making sure they didn't get into the kitchen. It's a family affair, all that works, but it's not a place for the play group just yet. We need to get that floor painted. I'm meeting with an electrician tomorrow, finally, that can do the work. We had to get a master electrician. I met with the journeyman last week. So it's Mike Popolara's daughter who is getting her license, and her and her dad are working, so he'll pull the permit for us. Because it's a municipal building, we need to have that permit from the state, but other than that, there is no permit. Looks like that cost will come in somewhere around $500 to wire it. But I meet with her in the morning, and other than that, the committee is just gonna slowly work on getting those things done, so it's actually a place that we can say, okay, if you'd like to have an event in the basement specifically. But in the meantime, for fundraisers, we're using it for the art auction, for the prom. It's overflow, but
Yep.
we're gonna be manning it. Somebody from our committee is gonna be on site, so no more private events down there. If we do rent it privately upstairs, the basement will be locked.
Okay.
Because we're not finding the trust there to let people have access to the building and say, please don't use that, they do anyway, and it's just caused issues,
So-
so.
So for the food shop, you're gonna have like log cabinets and stuff?
Yes,
Down
that's
there?
part of.
Yeah, so
Okay.
let's pivot
Oh.
and we'll
Yeah.
go, so, okay, cause I do wanna make sure we keep these a little separate
Oh,
because
yeah.
cause there has been some questions around like who's what and how's what, so.
Yeah.
So the town hall committee will keep working on the building use
Okay.
policy updates.
Yes,
And that's kind of,
Okay.
but for now, to your point,
Right.
status quo as far as things like the art auction, there's a
yeah,
way to do
things
that.
that are scheduled, but like I said, somebody from the committee will be there
Yeah,
on point, present during these events to monitor, just make sure kids aren't, I mean, I don't want anybody to get hurt down there. And we had that moment where, you know, we had 20 kids in the basement and no adult.
Yep.
And it was like, okay, if this is gonna happen, there needs to be a grown up. And I don't mind doing that, I mean, I've got a teacher's blah blah, you know, raise the hand, shut up, get out of here. But, I mean, it was great, it was a good event, and it just, it's a mess. But
Okay.
it's okay. And Heartful Kitchen, and this is part of, I think, part of the dilemma in trying to communicate with the committee, it isn't really a separate thing. It is the town. Even though it's a separate nonprofit and we have to have this lease with you guys, it's something the town has had for 40+ years. You know, the committee's like, well, why don't you have to pay rent, and and it's like, well, because most towns' food shelves have this umbrella thing, but they're free. You know,
Yeah,
there's
well, it's providing a service.
It's providing service for the whole community.
Yeah.
Last
Yeah.
week, we had 8
Yeah.
people come because I posted it was open.
Yeah,
One time, and 8 people showed up that had never been before, and we're very grateful. So, it is a necessary thing. And I will just keep saying, if I didn't have to do a nonprofit to do business with the food bank in Vermont, I would not have. I would have said, Town of Montgomery, please sponsor this.
yeah.
okay.
Because I don't want it to be separate. That's just the nature of how the Vermont Food Bank works. And I've pushed back at them a little and said, why can't, you know, the town of Montgomery be responsible for this nonprofit? And their answer is that because in towns, we don't partner with municipalities. It has to be this separate thing. And
So how did it work at the Methodist church?
it was the Methodist church.
Oh, because it was a
It
municipality?
wasn't a municipality.
Oh, okay.
So churches are an easy, you know, it's the one in Sheldon, that's the Methodist church. So
Oh,
churches
okay,
can
okay.
sponsor very easily these things, you know,
Okay,
but it's always in my mind been something that this town has always had,
yeah,
which is why Tiffany and I took it on, because Lois asked, and we didn't really, I mean, I didn't do my homework deeply enough in the beginning, or I might not have done this, because now the pushback is coming from, you know, well, you need to pay rent, you're a separate thing, and it's like, we're not, we're the community, and
Yeah,
Have you
Yeah.
found any examples of other,
the J area food shelf, yes, and
they operate out of a municipal building?
They operate out of the ambulance bay, and I gave a copy of their lease. I thought I sent it to you guys. So there's a
So-
lease with the J. I have a copy somewhere. I will send it to you.
okay.
It's fine, I
Again,
just-
they pay the utilities. They're now in the ambulance bay. They were in the basement of the town hall. They moved, similar situation. The town hall basement was a mess. They moved in, they fixed it, they cleaned it. And the town got a grant to redo the basement completely, and now they want it for whatever. So they moved them to the ambulance bay around the corner. They pay no rent to the town of Jay. They do pay their own utilities. And in terms of what we have been doing fundraising, we have more than covered the added expense of utilities and then some. And that's what we'd like to continue to do.
Yeah.
It's just we're gonna fundraise our butts off to support the extra costs. So far, it's a refrigerator and a freezer, which I would guess is about $30 extra a month, because the fridge is kinda old and
Yeah.
powerful. And using the oven hasn't cost the food shelf anything, but that's what we use when we do the town dinners, so there's a little
Yeah.
more expense there.
Yep.
We're in there more. So
Yeah.
the electric bill last month, I think, was $260. And that's the overall increase in usage from the building. So it's gonna be
Yeah.
more expensive, but we're pushing money in the door as fast as we can from all different places.
But so according to this lease agreement, the lessor, as AKA the town, pays, or the town hall committee pays internet, water, propane, electricity, but you as the lessee would pay common area maintenance, real estate taxes, and insurance?
No, see, and I'm trying to figure that out. I just read that, and if you read the common area expenses, it says you guys at the very end pay all the other expenses. That needs to get worked out.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
there's, so I think so as
I have to go back in the thing and change the answer to the question. I probably got lessor and lessee.
Yeah.
yeah, so I think we've got, I
Okay.
think the board now
Yeah.
has a copy of the draft. And so I think maybe what next steps is, since we've got a draft now that we can work on, if board members wanna take a look at that and mark it up with any questions or edits. I do think one of my first things in looking at it was that there's probably some sections in here that we can just like,
Well, here's the thing, like
Get
I
rid
said, it's one of those things online,
Yep.
and I can probably send you all access to it. I feel like I can share the document.
Yeah, and
You
so-
could actually go in and make whatever changes you want.
yeah, or put comments, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
So-
so that's the Google Drive thing, so I wasn't sure,
Oh.
cause I was traveling, so I was just using my phone and I wasn't sure who was getting what, so.
Can you,
Yeah,
on
I
your
will,
copy,
I
can
will
you edit
share,
it?
yeah, I think, I'll double check, but if I go into the Google Drive, I think I can edit it, or at least put comments, and
I
so,
can turn you all into editors, I'm almost positive.
yeah,
And I'd rather do it that way. My
Yep.
committee has not, they're not computer savvy. They have the same questions.
Yep.
But it's just, I have it, it's a year, we can edit it. You have access to it. I
Yep.
think I snuck it out of their drive onto my, I don't know.
yeah,
But if you can edit it, please do. I was just saying, here's the starting point
Yeah.
and because we need to have some agreement. And in there, the other thing that wasn't in there that we are just sort of, it's just sitting there is a liability insurance. We have $1 million, ready to pull the plug whenever, and we just got $5,000 from an anonymous donation for the food shelf specifically.
mhm,
That money will go to Heartful Kitchen, it will not come through the town, there's a separate account. And that money will be used to pay the liability insurance, the cost of food, and if need be, you know, if we get to a point in the wintertime where the bill for the electric, oh my God, we've exceeded because we're heating the basement, you know, the
Yeah.
basement would need to be heated anyway, regardless of whether we're down there or not.
Yeah.
But if we're in there and we're turning the heat up, that money would also be, okay, we need to throw $500 at the expense of the town hall. Because we've increased that usage, so we just need to track the budget.
Yep.
But we're not saying, like, it has to be a separate stream of income to pay the expenses of the food shelf that are really specific to that. But it's also, you know, to support the food shelf, we need to support the building we're in.
Yeah.
yep,
So we
Yeah.
fully intend to share where we need to and, you know, here's money for the electric bill this month. I mean, that's our intention, but
Yep.
we're also fundraising still continuously.
Yep.
And people are being very generous to the food shelf. So the more people are handing us checks and gift cards, and it's gonna be a significant amount of money, because in talking to Lois, that's how she supported
Yep.
that food shelf. And now those folks are reaching out to us saying, where do I, so there will be money in that food shelf account to cover those, I don't, however specific you wanna make the lease is fine with me. If you say expenses of $250 a month will be paid by Heartful Kitchen to support the utilities at the Grange.
yeah,
So my question, I have a question, I have two questions, is that okay?
yeah.
I know we're time.
Please.
And not to, I don't know if you can answer one of them, but for the food shelf, is this the whole basement space?
No.
It's just the kitchen?
So it's not even just the kitchen. So when we're open, the things that are locked in the cabinets for the 3 hours on Tuesdays, and so far that's the only time that we're actually open to the general public. So Tuesdays 3 to 6. We'll open those cabinets. We don't take everything out, but if we get a donation that week of fresh produce, that would be put on the counter. So when people come down, they come into the kitchen, we show them what's in the refrigerator, these things are available. What would you like in your box? Okay, I'll take those eggs, I'd like that cheese, can I have some tomatoes, can I have, and basically we just let them pick what they want from the shelves, and out the door they go, we record their visit. We don't have to take names and personal information.
No.
The Food Bank of Vermont requires us to report to them every 3 months just the number of people we have served. So they're not, like, a lot of food shelves have these intake forms. The rest of the food shelves I've talked to have asked us to start doing that because it tracks overlaps. So there's people that go to 5 food shelves in a week, and there's a
You could
problem.
use it.
There can be a problem, so
Yeah.
as a courtesy to the local area food shelves, then Peggy and Jay told me this, they like to keep track of who's coming in so that they can spot problems.
Yeah.
And that's fine, we're gonna get her sheet, she's gonna let us, just copy that. But we're not at the point yet where we want a full bore, like, all right, because we don't have that food delivery from the Vermont Food Bank yet.
Yep.
But it will happen.
Yeah.
Anyways, Suzanne.
So I think to your point, like right
But,
now, maybe
yeah.
maybe one comment thing to flag is like premises can be better
what is that
defined.
space?
So
Yeah.
we can work on that, certainly, yep.
It's hard
And
to
the-
say, like, so.
No, that's fine. I just wanted to know with the idea of like the basement ultimately
Yeah.
being a public space, how
Right.
that would work with, but that makes sense with the cupboards.
And
And
as
then my
long
other
as-
question,
Go ahead, no, you go.
my other question was just, and I don't know if you can speak to this, but with Montgomery Smiles, I was just curious. So like the variety show that just happened was a Montgomery Smiles event. So as a separate, but I'm confused, and I think a lot of people are kind of confused as to where that overlap is coming in. Do they rent the space? Does the profit come to both entities?
Oh, Suzanne, I wish I could give you the straight answer to this. This is what caused our 2 members to resign. This is one of the big sticky wickets. At our last meeting, we had a long conversation about conflicts, and that was Joanne's main, please read this. And I thought it would be really important to make the rest of the committee aware. Like, my son has given us a bid on the front railing. I used that as an example. I said that would be an example where I should not be voting on giving my son that job.
Yeah.
And try to explain it's Tara and Brad, and I think they need another.
Yeah.
Tara's now handling the contracts, and so she signed the contract with Montgomery Smiles, but she's on the Montgomery Smiles board. And
Yeah,
I
so
said,
that-
that's not really okay, Tara.
No.
You're not the one that should be signing that contract. So the contract with Montgomery Smiles says that they needed to pay a $250 cleaning deposit and $100 for 4 days. It's $50 or $25 a day for a nonprofit. Any
Yeah.
other nonprofit that's not a town group. So rec center uses it for free, library uses it for free.
Sure.
But like the historical society doesn't, because it's not an actual municipal group. So $100 and $250, and I came in today with the town supper proceeds. I have a routine. I come and see Liz, count the money for whatever fundraising I've done in that week, because I have literally had a weekly take with this rubbish, and there's a P&L sheet that they're supposed to be using that says this is how much we raised. Montgomery Smiles for the variety show, your guess is as good as mine, because it didn't specifically say when you came in the door and paid your $5, is this for the skate park? Is this for the town hall? Or is this just you putting on the variety show? And I think it's the latter. I think it's just Montgomery Smiles, putting on the variety show, doing a service for the community. But it does, you're the third person that's asked me this, like, where did that, what was the money for? I don't mind paying $5 to see a show. I don't know.
Yeah.
And as of today, Brad hasn't been to see Liz or Aaron, and Liz had asked us to take over all of that contract work, so my assumption is that either Tara or Brad has the cleaning deposit check and the rent, because it hasn't been paid. So this is a problem for us, and it continues to be, and I'm gonna just be that honest about it. I don't know how much more tutoring I can do on this matter, because it's become, I mean, Brad's riding around today with, I think, 30 metal chairs in his truck. I'm not sure if they're the Grange chairs.
No, I think they're the school chairs.
Those are school
I
chairs.
saw them take them out of the school the other day.
Okay, good.
So,
See,
yes.
therein lies the rub, because 3 people also said, and why does Brad have all the Grange chairs in his truck? And I saw him, and he literally drove by at that moment when somebody was asking me, and I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, so it sounds like that was something with the school though,
But
so.
again, that's
Okay.
great.
Yeah,
but-
yeah.
I just wanted to know if there
Yeah.
was like a clear answer to that question,
There
but
is
if
not.
there's not, then that's maybe something
But I think
else that needs to be.
the root of all this gets back to, I think there's still more work to do in terms of making sure that whenever things happen, it's clear what entity is doing what and who's responsible. So
Yeah.
we'll keep working on that, but.
Yeah, I mean,
good-
it's,
good
it's,
flag.
it's all in good fun, it's all good intentions,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
don't think anybody's trying to
No.
Pull a fast one.
pull a fast one. I think it's just a real clear understanding
Yep.
that things need to be separate.
Yeah.
And if Montgomery Smiles is doing a gig, and in the same regard, if Heartful Kitchen is doing a specific fundraiser, I should not be
Yep.
signing my own contract
No.
for that.
Yeah,
But currently, the fundraising that Tiff and I do, the town suppers, goes to the Grange, and the rummage is the first one where we split it.
Yep.
But it's recorded that that happened.
Yep.
Okay,
so it sounds like the next steps here are, at least,
Charlie, Oscar?
Yeah,
Do you know John Gorton in Sheldon?
yes, I do. Yeah,
Okay,
we've been in touch.
yeah, he'd be very helpful as far as getting food. That Sheldon pantry
Yeah,
is like a
he's-
Price Chopper or Hannaford store.
Yeah, I've been to that. So, thank you, Merle.
yeah, so I will forward the link you sent Friday to everybody so they've got access to the Google Drive.
Yeah,
With maybe some just instructions of how to add comments to it.
Yeah.
Once we confirm status of editor versus viewer, I'll take a look at that. Folks do have a hard copy, and so I guess next steps is to review this, note any questions, comments, edits, we'll work on that. Now that we do have a document, I will also kind of loop in just town council from a,
Yeah,
just
please,
general questions of
please.
liability, because it's a lease.
yeah,
And so we'll keep working on that.
yeah.
Yeah, Chris, did you have a comment on this?
Yeah, who keeps the certificates of insurance for all these different things?
Yeah,
Somebody
so.
needs to keep track of that.
Yeah, so one of the things with this is that Hartford Kitchens will have a certificate of insurance which lists the town as a,
Second insured.
yeah, an insured party, and then we'll hold a copy of that here.
What
Yeah,
about the other people using it?
So other people that use it, we don't hold a certificate of insurance.
yes, actually, the policy now, so when you rent it for an event where you're serving alcohol, we're requiring, people are
For,
getting
for that, for event insurance.
event
Yep.
insurance, and that insurance, we do have a copy.
For that, but we don't necessarily say to, you know,
The
if,
the rec center.
Zumba.
yeah, or, yeah, so like if there's an entity renting it, we don't make sure that they have a general liability policy themselves. It's only for the event insurance
So
that,
then the town assumes a liability when somebody doesn't have general liability?
It would anyway for a public building.
Okay. I don't know, I don't understand
Yeah.
all this stuff, but.
Well, it's like if somebody comes into the library or walks through this front door to do business with the town clerk.
If they were to slip and fall, so, because we have a policy, but it's the event insurance is the key one that is now a thing that we do require.
Yeah.
So the Montgomery Smiles has to have event insurance. when
They
have an
do.
event.
He does.
If they're serving alcohol.
Yeah.
Even if he doesn't.
Oh,
Not
really?
even
Yeah.
serving, he gets it every
They
time.
get one.
They do,
if
good.
they-
He actually has a policy
Yeah.
now for any event that he holds anywhere in town. He has a policy for the whole year
Okay,
that he gave
That's
us a
good.
copy of.
Great.
So he's gotten his insurance beefed up
okay,
because he's doing something at the rec center next weekend. You know, he's really, he's trying, he's doing good things on his
Yeah.
end to
Yeah.
make sure
yep,
everything's.
yeah, I met with him and,
Yeah.
the other day about, yeah, anyway, so
Yep,
they're trying, so, okay, so we have some
Yeah.
homework there, so we'll keep this on the agenda
cool.
as a next item, and we'll keep working on that.
Yeah, and we do have two people that are interested that after our next board meeting, we'll shoot you some names to put on your next, to
Okay.
join the committee, so that will be good.
Great, well, thanks, Tosca.
All right, guys,
thank
thank
you.
you very
Okay.
much.
Good night.
Have a good one.
You do. The next item up here is related to the collector of delinquent taxes and office compatibility. This was something that was flagged in regards to just compatibility of offices. And so with any office in town, there's essentially a matrix that says if you serve in this position, you can't serve in these positions.
Yeah.
And it's not for every position, but there are certain ones that are explicit. And the question that was raised has to do, just as this is Title 17 for those following along who want to know where it's coming from. But with the collector of delinquent taxes, there is a part of Title 17, Chapter 2647, which does call out that it specifically talks about the collector of taxes as one of the incompatible offices. And the question that was raised is whether the appointment we made last time is incompatible because Catherine serves as a school director, and a school director, according to the statute, cannot serve as collector of taxes. The question that we're trying to clarify is collector of delinquent taxes and whether that office is couched in collector of taxes, because this chapter is silent on that position. I did send an email to the Municipal Service Center, MAC, Municipal Assistance Center at VLCT on Thursday, asking them for a determination on this. I haven't heard back yet, but as soon as I do, I will get that to everybody. Larry, I just want to give you a minute to chime in if you want to, just because you pointed out this might be an issue. And I appreciate your attention to that. So any comments or questions there? Nope, okay. Well, we'll let you know as soon as we hear back, but that's the question here, is the compatibility of offices with a school director serving as collector of delinquent taxes, and whether that is couched under collector of taxes, or if we're talking about different offices there. So again, as soon as we hear back, we will make sure that we're doing that by the book.
Well, you should also look into the fact that if Kate helps develop the budget for our educational tax, whether she should be on the municipal budget committee as well.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, I see you had that point.
And I have nothing against Kate, don't get me wrong, but I want to make sure you don't get caught with your pants down around your ankles.
Yep,
Yeah.
nope, that's a good point. I didn't flag the ed budget question. I was looking just at the collector of delinquent taxes. So I will add that one to the ask.
It may
So-
very well be she has to give up one of those. I don't know.
Okay.
I can't remember putting her on the budget committee.
Yes,
I
you
don't-
did.
I think we did.
Yeah, I know
recall
we
though,
did,
But,
yeah.
okay, well, we'll chase
I guess
that
we
one
did.
down some more, Larry.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you.
So we'll carry that one forward. That brings us to new business. The added item here is the Lister vacancy. So Merle had flagged that he has an interested party to fill the vacant Lister seat. Right now it's Merle and Jamie with a vacant seat. And Merle has said that Kenny Miller is interested in filling the vacant Lister seat. Merle, do you want to add anything there or chime in?
I don't think
there's anything I could add, except, I think Kenny would be a good appointee. I think he'd be a good person to fill the position on the Listers Board of Listers, that's all.
Right.
Thanks, Merle.
I know Kenny was on the conservation, was he on the conservation commission?
Kenny was on the planning commission
planning
for a number of
commission.
years.
Yeah, and he resigned from that because of health reasons, so now he's all right to do this. I guess you talked with him, Merle, so he said he was all right to do this
Yeah,
position.
Yep.
I talked to Kenny, and
Yeah.
we had a conversation, and he's good to go.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah, and I think Kenny's a great guy. Good,
Yeah.
good
Oh, yeah, I
thinker.
like Kenny.
So I guess the motion would be to appoint Kenny Miller to fill the current vacancy on the Board of Listers, essentially until town meeting, at which point the seat would be back up for election.
oh, okay, so it's just, yeah.
So is there a motion to that effect?
I'll make that motion.
Thanks, Mark. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thanks, Leanne. Is there any further discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor of appointing Kenny Miller to the vacant seat on the Board of Listers until town meeting day, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Great, motion carries. Well, thank you, Merle, for chasing that down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. It's tough when there's just two people on the board.
Yeah.
And I worked well together.
Yep.
There was one occasion where we had one thought one way and one thought the other, but of course we resolved it with no problem. But it's you need the odd number on a board. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Merle. All right, that brings us to liquor and tobacco licenses. We do have one liquor license. I don't know if folks, by now you probably heard the news,
Yeah.
Stewart Shops is taking over either all of Jolly's operations or a good part of them.
I think
Does that have
all-
to be warned?
It was warned, so Liz actually added this to the agenda after I sent it out.
Oh, okay.
So the agenda that's posted has this on it.
Okay.
So the motion would be to approve the second class tobacco and tobacco substitute license for Stewart Shops.
And tobacco, what was it?
So it's second class license, tobacco license, and tobacco substitute. It's the first time I've seen that one, but I guess
Yeah,
that's like
Vapes and stuff.
vapes
Yeah,
or
that's
like
vapes, yeah.
zins or I don't know,
Whatever they
whatever else people want to do.
yeah.
So is there a motion to that effect?
I'll make that motion.
All right, we have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thanks, Leanne. Is there any further discussion?
Can we not approve it and then they just won't come to town?
Stewart's? I don't know. Stewart's used to have really good root beer.
Everybody.
They have great root beer. They
I
have a lot
remember-
of styrofoam cups and
Well, maybe we can work on that part of it.
coffee.
I just remember living in the Adirondacks. Root beer and root beer floats were a big thing.
Oh,
So
yeah.
anyway, any further discussion? All right, hearing none, we can vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Great, motion carries. And that brings us to the end of our agenda. So if there's no other business, a motion to adjourn would be in order, and we'll take care of signing pay requisitions or warrants.
I'll make that motion.
Great, we have a motion to adjourn from Mark. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second from Leanne. Thanks, Leanne. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries and the meeting is adjourned at 7:34. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
Good night.